there. Welcome. Welcome, friends. Welcome to Homekeepers. Should grab a cup of tea or something and sit. And we're going to have a really good girl show today. But you guys, stay with us because a lot of it will apply to you as well. In fact, on second thought, equally as well. And I'll tell you more about it in a minute, but I first want to welcome you, every one of you. If this is your first time to watch the program, boy, I hope it won't be the last. And I always like to give a hug to the wonderful regular viewers who've been with us a long time, and your support, your love, your prayers just cannot be calculated, really. So welcome, welcome. Let me tell you about my guest. Her name is Maralee McKee, and she has written a book, Manners That Matter for Moms. And I promise you, this is one of the finest books I've ever read. It is so needed. It is so current. Probably when you think of some kind of an etiquette book, you think of way, way back, you know, to my grandmother even. But this is extremely current and so important. I think this would be a great book to be taught in our school system. You know, when we have so much crudeness, rudeness, bullying, they should probably, instead of teaching kids how to have sex, they probably should teach them how to have manners. So I really do want you to meet Maralee. This is an amazingly interesting book to read as well. And we'll talk to her about that. And I'm going to join Stephanie in a minute. I've had this recipe in my file for a long time, and it was so weird. I just kept being very curious about it. So we're going to fix it today. No guarantees, but it's a cake that's got tomato soup in it. So maybe some of you have done that. It's sure new to me. So I'll join Stephanie. We'll do that. But before I do, I'm offering you this book, Finding Your $1 Million Mate. So there are guys and gals out there alike that would like to find a marriage partner. Let's make sure that it's marriage. And so you keep looking for the right person instead of working on being the right person. And this is written by a pastor, and I have an idea he knows exactly what he's talking about. He had enough experience to write the book. This book is coming to you at no cost. You'll have to write for it, and I strongly encourage you to send an offering, friends. We're at a point of real need right now, and if you just send the best offering you can, we'll get it out to you. But if you cannot, it is a book for no cost. We just appreciate you watching. Okay, girl, what do you think?
Okay, I think it's going to taste really good.
Well, we'll find out because we've got one baked.
Yeah, and I tasted the batter. You know, after smelling the tomato soup the whole time, I was like, oh, I'm not so sure. And I tasted the batter. It was really good. All you taste is the spices.
Now, it has a special frosting, too, which I have started because I got out this, you need that mixer, and this one's really noisy. So I'll do the best I can. I'm very doubtful about this, too.
Oh, don't be doubtful. It'll be good. It doesn't have
much moisture in it.
It'll be good.
But so far, this has had just a tablespoon of butter and a little package of cream cheese, about the 3 ounces. 3 ounce. And this thing.
We are high tech. Look at that orange grater.
Oh, I love this thing. You know, Wanda gave that to me.
I love it.
If you ever think that's an odd gift,
that's a perfect gift.
Anybody would like to have it.
Perfect
So
gift.
anyway, we've done that. You go ahead and do your thing.
I have a cup of sugar. Wow. And 2 tablespoons of shortening.
You don't have to scream, the microphone picks you up.
I'm screaming. I'm going to cream these together.
Oh, and this has a little salt in it, too, which I think is odd. You know, this might be just the best thing we've ever made.
I think that's going to be the best thing we've ever made.
This is the confectioner's sugar. I'm going to stand way back. Okay. I don't think we told people that you have a daughter who's driving a car now.
No. Yes.
This said to put a little.
Talk about pray without ceasing.
Oh, tell you, it's a benchmark when kids drive.
And I also have.
I'm just going to put a little orange juice in this, okay?
Yeah, that sounds good. I have 2 cups of flour, and I have baking soda, and I have cinnamon and nutmeg and ground cloves and salt. And
well, you tasted the batter. Does it taste like?
It tastes like spice.
It doesn't taste like
It does not taste like tomato soup.
So what's it like to not have to, you know,
To transport?
take her to school, pick her up?
You know, it's a whole new world.
It is.
About 21 years now, because of when I met my husband, we had his son also. So I've been transporting for about 21 years now.
You're free as a bird, huh?
So it is so different. I still am scheduling things around picking her up and taking her, and I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. I have to reprogram my whole mind.
See, I don't think my kids had driver's ed. Yours did.
Yes.
And that's a good thing.
So now I'm just going to mix a third of the dry ingredients and some tomato soup.
All right, they said this will be a stiff frosting.
Wow, that is so loud. That is going to be delicious.
Get a little. All right. Okay, we've got. Do you know what surprised me about this? It didn't raise up very much.
No, you could probably go with a smaller pan.
It's a pretty color. It's a ton of frosting.
That's okay. You can never
Cut
have
it
enough.
out of the newspaper. You know, what do you expect?
So I'm doing the rest of I'm doing it by thirds.
So the liquid is soup.
Yep.
Well, this is enough icing for. But we like it thick, don't we?
Yes, especially with cream cheese.
And the orange. Gonna taste it here in a minute.
And then we also have a cup of raisins and a cup of chopped nuts we're gonna mix in here.
I'm not real nutty about raisins. Kind of like them in oatmeal cookies. Well, let me get rid of this stuff. We got so many wires here. I'm dying to taste it,
I'm
girl.
just gonna fold in the nuts and the raisins, and then you just spray. You know, don't forget to spray your pan.
Oh, it feels like it has a nice consistency. I'm just taking a little tiny piece.
Didn't you say this was your lunch?
No.
Oh no, that was the apple bar.
This is one. Oh man, the frosting's good. It's such a pretty color.
What do you think?
It is. It's like a good spice cake. It's really hearty. It's not lightweight or all like a sponge cake. I would never ever dream that there's 10 ounces of tomato soup in there. So
that is really, really good.
it is really good.
Yeah.
It really is good. I wonder who thought of that. Congratulations. So then she'll spray that, put that in there. It's 350 for about 40 minutes.
Yep.
Right? And this icing recipe comes with it. So if you're interested in it.
That's a bonus.
The information's coming up on your screen. And honestly, I strongly recommend this recipe. And it tastes like an excellent spice cake.
It tastes like fall.
If you like spice cake, you like this.
Yes.
Stay with me.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, please send your request along with a gift of $5 or more to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758.
All right, I'm joined by Maralee McKee, author. This book is hot off the press, Manners That Matter for Moms. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a joy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book. I'd like to go back and I always like for people to really know the guests, you know.
Absolutely.
I think mainly because people come from such a variety of situations, and you see the grace of God.
Yes.
How He covered you when you didn't know it.
No.
So you were born into a broken home, basically, right?
Absolutely. My parents were divorced when I was 4. Before I was 4, it was just a house full of arguments. And then finally at 4, my father left. And soon after that, I had 2 much older brothers, and they had left the house. And so it was just my mother and myself. And without a father in the home, that allowed for an evil man to enter our family for a very long season. And when this man would come towards me, when my mother was at work, obviously she had to work to bring home money for the necessities of our lives, he would come way too close to me, and he was covered with the smell of alcohol and cigarettes and lust. And so I hid, literally. I would come home from school and I would hide in the bushes and on the side of the house or behind our house or behind a neighbor's house. I would go up to my room and hide under clothing in the back of the closet, and too many hundreds of times I was found. And so I grew up. Now you have to remember, this is a little girl's mind thinking, Arthelene. So in my mind, I had a vision of who I wanted to be, but then I had the reality of what was happening to me. And I had 3 prayers that began when I was just 8 years old. The first prayer was that God would find me worthy. You know, I always say that I feel like a throwaway person. When we make a pie crust, and then you take that pie crust and you get it perfect in the pan, and then you have to cut out the excess dough. I felt like that excess dough, like God had to make some throwaway people in the world in order to make the good people that he needed in the world. And so I just wanted to be, you know, like, will you accept me? Because I had been to Sunday school a few times, and I'd heard about heaven, and it was glorious, and God was glory, and there was bright light and gold. And why would a glorious God want a tarnished little girl? So I begged him to let me into his kingdom, to let me know that he loved me, but I truly believed that he did not and would not. The second prayer that I had is that he would send me a prince, because I knew all the fairy tales. And in the fairy tales, who always rescues the girls in disguise?
Booker offering.
The Booker offering, there you go, to bring me a mate. Yes, I wanted my Prince Charming to rescue me at some point. And then my third prayer, and this was put in my heart by the Holy Spirit, because it was much too much of a prayer of insight and wisdom for an 8-year-old girl. But my prayer was that he would make sure that I never turned anything into anything resembling the ugliness that I had experienced as a child.
Wow.
So we fast forward until I'm 22. The evil man is not out of my life until I am 15 years old. So it's a very long time. At 22, I meet this gregarious, wonderful man from what we would call the opposite side of the tracks, and that his father was a noted neurosurgeon. His family was at the country club, the vacation homes, you name it. If you wanted to keep up with the Joneses, this is who you were keeping up with.
Those were the Joneses.
Those were the Joneses, absolutely, positively. And his mother did not approve of me from the get-go. That was her only son, and you know, this was not to be. And for the longest time, I never told him. He knew some of my past, but he didn't know about that one particular part of it. And before we sent our wedding invitations out, I sat down and I told him so that he could walk away. I wanted to give him a chance to get out. And he was madly and passionately in love with the Lord, and the one who led me to the Lord. And he said, Maralee, do you trust me? And I said, yes, I trust you. He said, do you think that I'm a man of God? And I said, yes, I know that you're a man of God. Do you think God loves me? I said, no, I know that he loves you. He said, I've prayed for a wife since I was 12 years old. He said,
wow.
And God says, you're to be my wife. So will you trust me enough with that? And so I did, and wow. He led me to the Lord. So there was an answer to, there was my Prince Charming. There was one prayer. Then the second prayer, he taught me through our marriage that I was more than worthy, that I was loved, and that I was redeemed. And two of those 3 prayers then were answered. The problem came about on the week of our first wedding anniversary, in that he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So we spent the night of our anniversary at Shands Hospital, which is a hospital in Gainesville, Florida.
Yes, one of the best.
One of the best, absolutely, positively. He had surgery the very next morning, and he was given 12 months to live. He did live longer than expected, and he died 5.5 years into our marriage. So at 27 years old, I'm widowed, and I'm alone, and I'm crying, and I'm wailing. And on the other side of Orlando is a man named Kent McKee, who for 36 years had been praying for a wife, and a wife had not come. And the week that Chuck died, went away on a prayer retreat. And on the day that Chuck died, God told him, get up, your wife is being prepared for you, go home. And in the weeks following Chuck's death, as I was crying at 2 in the morning, something would wake him up from his sleep, and he would get down on his knees by his bed, and he would pray. And he says to me now, later, he said, Maralee, I didn't really know what to pray. All I could feel in my heart is that you were sad and you were very scared. And I said, Lord, you hold her until I can hold her.
Wow.
2 years later we met, and we're about to celebrate our 19th wedding anniversary.
2 sons.
2 sons, yes.
It's just an amazing story, and it's just got grace all over it.
Doesn't it?
How God just absolutely was there.
Oh.
And
I didn't see him. Sometimes we have to look through our rear view mirror.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. We always see him in hindsight.
I mean, could that story be written by the best fiction writer in the world?
As a young child, and you'd been to Sunday school a couple times or whatever.
Couple times.
But there was a seed that took root.
Yes.
I just want all the viewers to really understand this, that whatever you're doing in the kingdom of God, if you're teaching a Sunday school class, whatever you're doing, you have no idea how you're impacting eternity. Now, I do want to get your website. We'll just leave it up the rest of the program because, as I mentioned, this book is hot off the press. And you mentioned to me that there were times when there was only enough food for one person, and your mother insisted that you have it. That's how devastatingly poor they were. And if she worked a lot, I don't know where she had time to teach you manners and etiquette, and that makes me wonder, how did that interest come about?
Well, I think that's where this all came about, and that's the answer to my third prayer of childhood. I felt as if I didn't belong anywhere. And when I would go with my first husband, and then my second husband, whose father was also a physician, and I would sit at a table, Arthelene, and I would look at the woman on the right and the woman on the left who had been to the best colleges and had traveled to Europe and had done all these things. And I didn't know how to talk like them. I couldn't engage in the conversations. I didn't dress like them. And I felt like I didn't deserve a place at the same table that they sat at. And so I picked up an etiquette book and I read it. I'm like, oh, so that's how you do that. Oh, so that's how you do that. Well, that girl didn't know what she was doing because that was wrong. And God used etiquette skills to take what was most lacking in myself, my feelings of inferiority, my feelings of not feeling as if I deserved a seat at the table. And he said, sweetheart, I love you so much. I'm going to put you here's your seat, and honey, it's at the head of the table. But then this is what he said to me. He said, you little introverted, shy thing, guess what? I have filled you to overflow. Now from the overflow, you poured onto others because there are other people exactly like you who feel like they don't belong, and they are my daughters, and they belong. You go in, you tell them.
That's why I told you this is really a book that's different, if you've read any etiquette books at all. Now, and please note the way you get the book is through the website. Please, I'm encouraging Sunday school teachers to get this, and I'll tell you why. I was a minister of music for many years, and so at the choir rehearsals, I'd take that much time at the top of the rehearsal to teach theory. And what I'm telling you about this is take this book about 10 minutes out of every class. The kids will enjoy something different, and then get to your Bible study because this is very scriptural anyway. But we really have a sad lack of manners in the United States today. In fact, there's so much coarseness, so much rudeness, and so much vulgarity. Do you mind if I just give a thing about my grandsons.
Oh, no, please.
No, we were at this.
Please.
We were at this situation. It was a school reunion, and my daughter had gone to this school. Of course, her boys are pretty big now. And we were all at the table, so all these people were coming to the table to talk to my daughter and my son-in-law and all. And every time both of those boys, teenagers, stood up and shook someone's hand. And I can tell you, that's Grandma, I'm sitting here. I am so proud.
Amen. Absolutely.
And you've got 2 boys.
I do have 2 boys.
Do you think people think that good manners is only for girls, or?
You will find that. You will find that sometimes you'll find dads who say, don't teach my boys good manners. They're going to turn out, you know, to be
a sissy.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. Please, no, it's not called being a sissy. It's called being a gentleman. It's called being chivalrous. Think of the protocol and the manners used by the knights of old. Oh my goodness, when your boys stand, I mean, what a difference that makes. That's a difference between someone that's part of the crowd and someone who is a leader.
Someone that stands out.
Yeah, nobody minds someone standing up in order to, you know, they're rising to, your grandsons rose to the occasion of meeting another person. What better gift
adults.
is it?
When an adult walks in, those kids should stand up.
Absolutely.
Now,
we all should stand up for everyone. We need to, we're all made in the image of Christ, and we need to stand up and we need to welcome each other. And you know, we're Christ ambassadors. People don't know that the children of the staffs of our embassies, if you're 8 years old, you have to have a 14-week etiquette course, because it's an honor and a privilege to represent the United States abroad. Well, with honor and privilege comes responsibility. And we're ambassadors too, and we're representing heaven here on earth. And if we don't act like the hands and the feet of Christ, if we misrepresent Christ in this foreign land, then souls can be hurt and lost and turned away from Christ. How much more do we need to know these things? And there's no pretense in here. I'm not into pretense. I'm not into window dressing. There was a lot of window dressing in my childhood, and it hurt me deeply. I won't ever say that this causes, you know, this is no window dressing. This book will not make you a doormat, because I let myself be a doormat. But what it will do, it will make you a welcome mat.
Yeah, and everything in your childhood said you're a doormat.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And see, that's what Jesus came to do. He came to make you, and he's the welcoming one. Now, how is this different than the stuffy, boring books that I read? I think the name Emily Post, not the present one, but that kind of stands out. It was pretty rigid.
Absolutely, it must be done this way, it must be done that way. There's still a set of standards, but you know what? We all love standards. We're all more comfortable when we know what's expected of us. Who would like to show up on their first day of work, be showing their desk and say, see you later, and you don't know what to do? And we do our children a disservice when we send them out into the world and we say, use your good manners. And they're like, okay, thanks for that, you know, all right, you know, what,
Don't leave them at home.
Yeah, you know, could you give me a little hint there, Mom? This book tells you exactly what that is, but it's updated for our casual, techno-savvy generation, because what will happen is if we use Grandma's manners, now what I did do is I kept in her graciousness, I kept in her warmth and her hospitality, because that's Christ-like. But also, we're not throwing away our cell phones. We're not throwing away our iPads. And so all of that is incorporated into this as well.
That was good thinking.
Yes, absolutely. So it's made for today, because if we use Grandma's etiquette, we're going to appear stuffy, because we're a much more casual culture, and we want to interact with each other more casually. But there's still a way to do it, because too often we cross lines.
And you also think about that person who, like you, sitting between the two aristocrats, who's painfully shy, and how welcoming it is to have somebody come up to them. I mean, you are the hand of Christ extended.
Amen.
You really are. You really are. Now, how do you have good manners around a bully?
Around a bully?
Somebody's bullying your kid.
I think you let it be known in a firm voice, but in one that is in no way demeaning. To say, let's say it's a play date at the house and the child's not being behaved, I would say to that child, I'm like, Ryan, You know, we like it when you come over and play with Corbett, but we have some rules in this house, and in this house, there's no name calling. So I hope you want to stay.
Oh, that's good.
Because
That's good.
we can't. But if you do, we can't call each other names, or we can't. You know, we don't pick up the cat in that, you know, by his back feet. You know, things like that, and you deal with it. You deal with it directly. You can lay down the rules, but yet you can do it nicely and politely. And I think sometimes people take manners too far. They're afraid to say anything. Again,
Yes.
this isn't to make us a doormat.
Yeah.
It's just to make us gracious in our everyday encounters. And there's a way to be gracious even when that encounter might not be the most pleasant of encounters. But we all have to have unpleasant encounters sometimes. We have to deal with issues.
A lot of things, you know, in this book, you think, oh man, I wish I had this book when I was younger and all, but we've only got about a minute or so left. You say that, think about this, people, 96% of what we say or actions around children are negative.
In our home.
Oh, that's horrible.
Well, you know, we don't think about it, but the answer is no. Or, sweetheart, give mommy a moment. Or, mommy, sit down and read with me. Later, honey, later. And research after research has shown 96% are negative, 4% are positive. If you want a child that grows up, that has the character traits of someone who is gracious, someone who draws people to himself, the ratio needs to be 80% positive, 20% negative. Keep in mind that negative includes body language, the way you look at the child, your tone of voice, all of that. So we need to change 96% negative to 80% positive.
Amen.
And that's how you can do it.
And how you do it is all contained in this book. Well, I think one of the most important books we've ever talked about
Thank
on
you.
this program. It really is wonderful. It's current. It's needed. It is so needed because these are the things that God can use. God can use this to draw a person right in. So if you got a little bit sloppy, slothful, and all, I know there were things in this book that convicted me. Think about it, okay? Sorry we're out of time, but please remember, there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you would like a video copy of today's Homekeepers program for just $19.95, call 1-800-229-0059 for credit card orders, or send a gift of at least $19.95 to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758. Be sure to note the program number which appears on your screen.